So it's been a little bit since we got back to the STI. The owner was a little bit tight on funds, so he asked us to stop for a little bit. So now he's good to go now. So we got a ton of stuff that we've got to wrap up here. Tons of vacuum lines and all sorts of AOS type stuff that needs to get done. So right now, first things first though is that Andrew pulled the battery out just because the battery was like real weak. So we're gonna go ahead and charge that. So in the meantime though, we are going to get started on pulling the fuel pumps out because he's got a fuel system that's going in, and that's going to be the Radium dual pump. So on the old fuel setup for the STI, the flex fuel was actually in one of the feed lines. So on this one, it's like returnless, where the front fuel rail is capped off here. So now, because we're adding all the fuel system stuff, we're going to move the flex fuel back into the return line. So we've got this line here that Andrew made that's going to run and attach back there, and then the other side's going to go back. And then now he's also working on the 8AN feed line now. So we had to add a 45 off of this fitting here at the top, and that's going to go down into the new Radium fuel rail. That's going to be hard as hell to see, but it is also down there as well. So we are going to convert the feed line to 8AN, whereas it used to be 6 into the hard line. So we're going to add, we've got an 8AN 45 down there. It's hard to see off the filter. That's going to go into this piece now, and then thusly feed the 2 rails. And as you can see, Andrew with his beautiful shorts on is working on the feed line now. So Andrew's been working diligently on the STI. So he's got the Radium tank basket deal in here. Now he's just a matter of running the lines across. The lines underneath are all done. So we also have, we need to wire up the DeechWorks dual fuel pump relay. We've used this on another different car with great success here. So we're going to wire that up as well. So on this car particularly, I'm going to stagger the fuel pumps like I normally do. And it's just, the reason is that if you have 2 pumps running, you can easily overpower the regulator. So I'm going to test that basically. Once I'm going to wire them both up, I'm going to see where the regulator's at. We're going to see if we can get it down to 43.5 with both pumps running. If we can, then we'll leave it. If not, then we'll have to stagger it. So no big deal, just something that we've got to work on. All right, so we're going to temporarily wire up each of the fuel pumps one at a time. We're just going to test it. We're going to reuse the fuel pump harness here and our jump box to get it all tested to check for any fuel leak. Now, there should be. All right, one pump is running. Let me check the other pump real quick. So we're going to run the pump a little bit longer, and then just to make sure that we don't have any fuel leaks. All right, Andrew, go ahead and turn the jump box on. Yep. I mean, I don't hear anything hitting the ground. All right, so should be good. As far as we can tell, the fuel system's not leaking. We had to make a couple new lines, obviously, so we didn't hear anything hitting the ground. So that is a very large plus there. So now it's just a matter of going through and cleaning everything up. All right, so as you guys can see that I have the front wheel off here on the STI. So my goal is ooh, looks like it's time for a control arm maybe. Anyways, so my goal is I'm going to try to route the wiring through this cavity here. Now the reason why I'm going through here is because that everything over there by the turbo setup is extremely tight. So I don't want to risk melting any wires for the fuel pump wiring. Plus the battery is already on this side. So I feel like the shortest route would be to run through this fender well hole, through this side into the car. Now I don't know for a fact if I can run it through the car, but most cars have like a grommet that's behind this. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off, and then we're gonna double check it. Okay, so we've got this grommet that we can go through here, and then we've got the wiring harness that goes up along through here. So there's definitely some room to the battery, and we can follow the factory routing as best as we can. I'm a little concerned though, because I don't know where this actually ends up at, and there is another grommet right here that I could go through, but I don't really like going through this harness only because that there's this is for the door and it opens and closes. So okay, so I've cut apart the fuel pump harness wiring just because that there's no easy way of going to be pulling that through. So I've already separated it all, and then we're going to make our cuts and then bring this inside the cabin. So I got I got everything routed inside. I've got there's a little bit of space here that I can zip tie some stuff to here. I've got a couple zip ties on it already, but yeah, as far as that goes, I think that's good right there. Again, I will throw some zip ties on it just to kind of tidy it up a little bit more, and then I can go ahead and reinstall this. And I also left like an ample bit of room out here on the fuse side of it, just because this area is really tight. So I think what we're going to do is I'm gonna leave this as is. We're gonna see how the battery fits in here again, and the little tie down for it as well. And like I said, I left enough room though, so if need be, we could potentially still go around. After struggling for a little bit, I got the wires ran across, ran it through the carpet, followed the factory wiring, and it's ended up basically over there in that little corner over there. So now I've got to figure out the rest of the wiring in terms of where. The biggest thing really is where to put the relays. That's always the hardest part. Once you figure out where the relays go, everything else kind of falls into place. So here are the two relays. We've got to route the red power wires through this loom now that we have it through the cabin. And then again, that's going to kind of dictate where everything else lands. One other thing that we're going to have to do too is that we've got to run a separate trigger wire from the ECU to this wire to trigger on the second pump. But again, initially I'm going to try to run both pumps together to see if we can bring fuel pressure down. Generally speaking, that's not going to happen, but it's, you know, it doesn't hurt to try first. All right, so I got everything routed. I wrapped everything up with the Tesa tape, and I've also fed the power wires through for the relays to the battery. So now it's just a matter of attaching them, and I'm going to use these. With these solder style crimps here, I'm actually going to use my iWis tool here. So we're going to use these with the 125 jaws here, and it does come with wire strippers. So I'm going to go ahead and use that really quick. We're going to change out the jaws to the 125s if they're not already in it, and then we'll get this party started. All right, so I've got the 125 jaws installed here already, and I apologize for the lighting. There's only so much I can do. So we've got our little crimp here. So we're gonna grab the included wire strippers out of the case. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with crimping these wires here because they're a little harder to work with. So I'm gonna strip a little bit of this wire, and I'm just gonna measure it. Basically, there's an indent that's in these pieces, and you just want it to line it up to the indent. Make sure this is the right wire gauge as well, which it is. So now all we got to do is grab our jaws here, our crimpers, and there's actually a dot here to represent what color you're going to use. So we're going to use the blues, and we're going to line this up really quick and just give it a good crimp, and then give it a pull test. See, so I pulled it and it failed, and re-inspecting the wire, it actually looks like this is actually the wrong crimp size. So that's okay, we'll go ahead and grab the right ones, throw that out. Okay, so now I've got the yellow ones, and same deal here. We're going to put it in the yellow dot here. Slide this over, slide it down, give it our ratchet action, and then give it a pull test. So now that we've pulled it and it won't come loose, we know that we have the right size and the right crimp. Okay, I've got those other wires stripped here. I like to use the tool to kind of preemptively hold this as well. And so we're going to give this just a little bit of a twist here just to get the wires all uniform. And we will slide this down. It's a little hard because I'm working against the sheathing here. So now that's crimped. We give it a tug test here, and now we know that it's good. So now all we got to do before we actually go crimp this in, we're going to figure out where these relays are going to potentially go. And remember that it has to feed into the fuel pump housing area down here. Okay, so now we're at the part where I've got to do the crimp ends for the fuel pump now. So we're going to use the iWis tool here with the quick jaws, and the jaw that we swapped out to are the 10N pair, and these are for non-insulated crimps. Now one other thing too is that I adjusted this as well. So I loosened it up so that the bite's not as hard, otherwise you're going to be struggling to try to get it to crimp. So just as usual, we're going to strip the wire there, and then I'm going to reach over here to grab the crimp in. So now we've got the crimp in here, and we're going to go ahead and put this into the jaws here. And so on these, remember the split end faces up. You just want to put like a rectangle into the bottom portion of it. And so we're just going to put this in. Oop. Now we've got it lined up, just give it a squeeze. And this will take a little bit of force. Yeah. All right, so we've got like a nice rectangle in here, and then give it the pull test. And as you can see, it's definitely all done there. So definitely love this tool. It's very versatile. So definitely check it out when you get the chance. So now that we have the 4 wires done, the 2 powers, 2 grounds for the 2 fuel pumps, I've got to put some heat shrink on these ends here just to get them isolated. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just kind of I'm going to loosely twist these together. And so the reason why we're doing that is that way that we know we're obviously in pairs. Not that it matters too much, but it's always nice to just have it somewhat uniform. Now the only other thing that we've also got to crimp as well is we've got to add the fuel level wiring. And the good thing about those is that polarity doesn't matter, and it doesn't carry a ton of voltage, so we can just use some very small gauge wire to get that all put in. Alrighty, so last week where we left off as was our fuel level wasn't working, and we had an issue with the flex fuel / ethanol sensor not working, and I found out what that was. It simply was just unplugged. We had it unplugged when we were doing the intake manifold and stuff like that. So that's temporarily plugged in for now. We're gonna have to go through and we're gonna check it. So I have one fuse completely disconnected for one fuel pump. So what we're gonna do is we're basically going to start the car, and then I'm going to disconnect the vacuum line off the fuel pressure regulator and check to see where the fuel pressure is at. Then I will power on the second pump and see where fuel pressure ends up after that, and see if we can turn it down. If we're able to maintain 43.5 with one pump, then if we can maintain 43.5 psi with both pumps running, then we'll leave it alone. We won't have to stage them. If we aren't able to, then obviously we'll have to stage it. Okay, so I had both pumps running, and I was able to set fuel pressure to 43.5 psi / 300 kPa. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test it by removing one fuse, and then we'll flip-flop that. And what we're trying to achieve is that we want to know what fuel pressure is going to be with only one pump running. That way I can try to set up a safety table based off of fuel pressure. So with both pumps running, we have 301 kPa, so that's a little bit higher, like literally 1 kPa higher, not enough for me to be concerned about. And so like I said, what we're going to do is I'm just going to unplug one of these, and then we're going to double check our fuel pressure. So fuel pressure we have at 280 kPa, so it's not even that much lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to flip-flop the pumps. We're going to go ahead and flip-flop the pumps. And we're basically going to plug this one back in and unplug this one. And then we'll see where fuel pressure drops. So about the same. So 280 is kind of where we land at with both pumps disconnected, or with one pump disconnected on either side. So I'm gonna set up a warning table based off of that alone, and that should give us an idea. Now this part may be a little bit hard to understand. I'm gonna do my best to explain it, okay? So if you've been in a car long enough, you know that when we set up fuel pressure regulators, it's based off of atmosphere. So 0 on a boost gauge, right? So basically we set this warning at 280 kPa, and maybe a little bit lower. The reason is that, think about it this way. Once we hit 0 on our boost gauge, right, it should be 43.5. But we know that if only one pump's working, it's only going to be 280 kPa, right? So when we set that up that way, that means that even if one pump isn't working, you should be able to drive and cruise around totally fine. But the moment you try to get in a boost, it's going to flag that fuel pressure is too low. Once it flags that, then it's just going to cut it completely. Now, we can raise that safety a bit higher. So, you know, for instance, like instead of being 0 on a boost gauge, we can essentially record what we would have theoretically at, say, something like 10 pounds of boost. That way that the car is not fully neutered when you're just driving it around. You know, the thing is that if you've ever driven any turbo car, you know that like partial throttle will get you into boost. But imagine trying to get in a partial throttle and the car falls on its face, right? So like I said, theoretically speaking, if at 0 we're at 43.5, once we're at 10 psi, we should be at 53.5. So, you know, if we sent that so where that the cut happens, if we're, say, instead of being 53, we're at, say, 49 or so, it's going to induce some type of cut. So I think that's how we're going to set it up. Of course, once we get it on the rollers, we'll actually test it out with one pump just to make sure that the safety works. So that way we have some type of recorded data of what we should be at, you know, at, say, 14 pounds of boost, or 10 pounds of boost rather. So now that we have this fuel pump portion sorted, I'm just going to leave it alone. The reason is Andrew, unfortunately, he's going to have to take it all back apart because the fuel level still isn't working. I've checked all my wiring, all my diagnostics on this side of it, and all my side is good. So unfortunately, that's going to have to come back out for him to kind of review, just double check. Maybe it's a crimp connection that I did or something like that, but it does in fact have to come apart. So we're gonna, the only thing that I can do to this one now is I'm going to start wrapping up the interior on the driver's side where I routed all the power wiring, and then we'll leave that until he gets back and then he can fix that.